A very good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News, come to you live and direct from the Newsfirst Centre here in Colombo. I'm Florine Rajendran. Before going to the stories in detail, here's a look at today's headlines. 4 killed in Aturgiri plane crash. 1 airman sustains injuries. SLAF deploys team to investigate air crash. Shooting at a house in Dankotua, 2 injured. CIA directed Defence Post 9/11 interrogation. In those stories in detail now, the SLAF convened a media briefing this morning following the air crash in Hokandara, Aturgiri. Speaking at this media briefing, SLAF Chief of Staff Air Vice Marshal Gajun Bulatsingala noted that a team headed by Air Commander Ravi Jayasinghe has been appointed to investigate the crash.
AN32 SMC 864.
The aircraft Antonov 32 SMC 864 crashed at about 6:20 am today. The pilot was squadron leader AMWN Abewardhana. The co-pilot was Flight Lieutenant ADAET Amaratunga. Flight Sergeant Priyantha was the flight engineer. Corporal Vijayaratna and Chaturanga were the other 2 airmen on the plane. The crash occurred when the aircraft, which took off from Katunayaka, attempted to land in Ratmalana. They did not report any problems with the aircraft in their communications with air traffic control. The problem at the time was not the weather but the visibility, which was very low. Since investigations are underway to ascertain the cause of the crash, we cannot arrive at any conclusions at the present time.
On to other headline-making news, 2 people have been injured in a shooting that took place at a house in Dankotua. The incident occurred when 2 unidentified persons travelling on a motorcycle had entered the house at about 8:30 last night and attempted to attack the residents. Police state that shots had been fired during the incident. The 2 individuals have been admitted to the Negombo hospital. On to other local news, all election officers, including returning officers, have been summoned to Colombo.
Speaking to Newsfirst, Additional Elections Commissioner U. Amardas stated that all elections officers had been summoned for a meeting on the forthcoming presidential election. The Additional Elections Commissioner added that representatives of political parties and the secretaries of those parties contesting the elections are also scheduled to attend the meeting. He added that they intend to cover matters such as pasting of posters and setting up of cutouts during the meeting. The meeting is also scheduled to cover the implementation of election laws. The Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission had requested the police to submit a report on the mechanisms that will be used to take down election-related banners, cutouts and posters in the run-up to the presidential poll. Legal Secretary of the Commission, Attorney at Law Nimal Punchiheva stated that the complaints lodged by a number of groups, including election monitors, have been taken into account by the Commission. He added that a separate team has been appointed at the Commission to prevent the misuse of state resources for election propaganda purposes. Meanwhile, the house of a UNP supporter was attacked in the Galewela area yesterday. The resident stated that the group had set fire to the house around midnight. The Galewela police have commenced investigations into the incident.
Initially, my mother heard a noise and the dogs had been barking. The switches are near the main door. When my mother went to turn on the lights, she had felt the fire near her feet. She had jumped back and then she has seen the flames.
Now, moving to one of the local news. Now, tragedy struck the Antonov AN32, which crash-landed in Hokandara, Aturgiri. Now, 4 of those aboard the plane were died, and one of the passengers was severely injured. Now, the Sri Lanka Air Force says that a court of inquiry has been appointed to investigate the crash of the Antonov AN32 in Hokandara, Aturgiri this morning. Director of the National Hospital, Dr. Anil Jayasinghe, said that the injured individual is in critical condition and is receiving treatment at the Colombo National Hospital.
The injured individual has been identified as leading aircraftman Chaturanga. He was admitted to the Sri Javardhanapura Hospital and was later transferred to the Colombo National Hospital.
A young man has been transferred from Sri Jawaharlal Hospital with severe burn injuries, with some deep burn injuries, and there is some degree of head injury as well. Now he has been taken to a resuscitation room and he's been evaluated. There is some degree of consciousness, but his condition is severe. In a burn injuries, you could have still somewhat conscious, but patient could be severe.
According to reports, the captain communicating with the operations room had reported that there was poor visibility in the surrounding area of Ratmalana. SLAF spokesperson Wing Commander Gihan Sinimratna said that the Antonov AN-32 had crashed at around 6:16 this morning. We were working at a house here. We heard a sudden noise. When we looked, we saw a plane coming towards this side like a fireball. When we got to the location, we saw one person lying on the ground. The plane was on fire at the time. We came running here and saw one person lying on the ground. After moving him away from there, we moved forward and saw one person waving his hands and screaming. We broke everything and took that person out. His arms were burnt. He did not speak, but he was screaming. While 5 people, including the captain of the Antonov AN-32, were on board at the time of the crash, 4 people died in the incident. The flight team had a great deal of experience among them. We believe that the mist may have caused the accident. Police media spokesperson SSP Ajit Rohana said that 3 houses were damaged in the crash. It suddenly started descending. Then it hit the roof of the house and then exploded. All of us together managed to douse a fair amount of fire with buckets of water and rescued these people. We saved one person. He was screaming inside the plane calling for help. The Antonov AN-32 crashed while it was en route to Ratmalana from Katunayaka. The Air Force spokesperson said a clear conclusion as to what caused the crash cannot be determined until the investigations are conducted. Meanwhile, Director of the Media Centre at the Ministry of Defence, Brigadier Ruwan Wanegasuria, said the reports have been received that pieces of the wreckage had been taken away in 3-wheelers. He added that this hampers the investigation process and urged that these parts be returned.
Moving to some other local news, let's take a look at some of the views expressed on the election stage.
The hosts had to fight back from 2 goals down to secure.
When you wave a sparkler around at first, it looks very beautiful, but a short while later, all that is left is a heated iron twig. Under the Mahinda Chintanya, we have a light that lasts all 12 months of the year. Our development does not fizzle out like a sparkler. We are the miracle of Asia. But the people do not have food to eat. Mothers are jumping into wells with their children because they cannot afford to feed them. The farmer and his daughter consume poison because they cannot pay their debts. The parents consume poison together so as not to become a burden on their children. This is not something you hear from a country that is developing, but the ruler of this country thinks it is a miracle. Today Sirisena has gone to the other side and is saying he will not tell you anything, but that you can feel it in your bones. They blame us for various things, but when you look at the people who are coming over to our side, you can see that they are talented, standout characters. Katagoda has come here. Gamampilla from the Helu Urumia has pledged support to the president. More will come.
දැන් ජනාධිපතිවරණය ආවට පස්සේ රජ මගුල් මොකටද මේ?
Now with the announcement of the presidential election, there are big celebrations. Why is this? Because the president is conducting the election by emptying the resources of the state treasury. This election will end in a state where no money will remain to pay the wages and salaries of state workers. If this dictatorship continues, a social uprising similar to that of 1988-1989 uprising will dawn upon the country. If you wish to avoid it, the elders and the stakeholders of the country must come forward for a social revolution. When you are in government for 9 years, shortcomings will arise. We will resolve these problems. Some people say that the Muslim community was done an injustice through this government. Although there may be isolated problems, this government has created an environment where the Muslim people as a whole can live in peace.
Muslim ප්‍රජාවට සමගාමීව ඉතාමත් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැති ජීවත් වීමේ වාතාවරණයක් මේ රජය දී කරලා තියෙනවා කියන එක මම මේ අවස්ථාවේදී මතක් කරන්න කැමතියි.
And that's a wrap of lunchtime news here at News First. For the News First team, I'm Florine Rajendran, reminding you to take care and stay safe.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.